since the budget for national government was read, we have been asking ourselves questions on a number of foreign items which have been introduced in our tax system and in the national budget. For example, the Robin Hood tax. That is going to be our topic of discussion today, and we will look at various documents in which the Robin Hood tax has been discussed, and even forums, for example, the National Assembly. This Robin Hood tax was introduced by the Cabinet Secretary for Treasury, Mr. Henry Rotich, in his budget statement speech when he was presenting the budget to the National Assembly. This is the budget statement which was made by the Cabinet Secretary for Treasury in Kenya, and it was titled Creating Jobs, Transforming Lives and Sharing Prosperity. The budget statement brought on board new ideas, including the Big Four agenda, but today we are specifically interested in finding what the budget says about Robin Hood tax. And I will read this paragraph whereby the Cabinet Secretary for Treasury says that, Mr. Speaker, our economy has a well-established financial sector in the region with significant sums of money transferred monthly. In order for the government to get a fair share of revenue from these financial activities and to finance critical government programs, I propose to introduce a Robin Hood tax of 0.05% on any amounts of 500,000 shillings or more transferred through banks and other financial institutions. In addition, I have increased excise duty fees charged on money transfer services by cellular phone service providers from 10% to 12%. So in his speech, introduced some ways of raising revenue for or towards the provision of the Big Four agenda. So this has created a lot of public debate, including a debate at the National Assembly, whereby members of the National Assembly have been feeling that 500,000 is too low. Actually, the threshold is lower. It could have a negative impact on the economy and on the people of Kenya. So they were requesting in their debates that the National Treasury and the National Treasury mostly should increase that threshold to 1 million shillings. And here is what the National Assembly has. National Assembly of Kenya website. Let's see what they have on the answered. This is the 11th Parliament, and there is this answered. This is the website for the Parliament of Kenya, which is made up of the National Assembly and the Senate. Here specifically, we are interested in the answered on the National Assembly side, because we also have answered we also have the answered on the Senate. So let's see what they have to say about Robin Hood tax at the National Assembly. So the first one here is the parliamentary session for Thursday, 30th August 2018, which was basically on which day is that? Today is 2nd, so 30th was on Thursday last week. So let us look for the Robin Hood tax. Was providing that any transfer, this is the Honorable Joseph Limo of Kipukerion. He's from the answered reports for 30th of August 2018. Honorable Joseph Limo, the Member of Parliament for Kipukerion East, Member of Parliament for Jubilee, introduced a number of amendments to the finance bill and clarified that on the issue of Robin Hood tax, which charges 0.05% of all monies above 500,000, which is transferred by any financial institution, would be charged to provide resources for universal health care. And some of the issues, some of the clarification, the amendments made includes divination of money transfer, which means money transferred from one account to another, either within a bank or from one bank to another bank, or from a person to another person through money transfer agency or other financial services providers. But this does not include, so there are items which are not included. These are the transfer of taxes or tax refunds from Kenya Revenue Authority. B, transfer from Kenya Revenue Authority's correction accounts to the Central Bank of Kenya. C, transfer by or to the national government, county governments, or Central Bank of Kenya. So if the national government is transferring money to the counties, that is not taxed. The Robin Hood tax does not apply. Transfers relating to the purchase and sale of shares and securities on the Nairobi Securities Exchange by banks or financial service providers on behalf of customers. Transfers between accounts belonging to the same person or any other category as may be described by the Cabinet Secretary through a Gazette notice. This was the proposal which was made by the Chair, Honorable Joseph Limo, but one Judy Njomo, the Member of Parliament for Kiambu, on a Jubilee Party ticket, opposed. The Member of Parliament, Honorable Judy Njomo of Kiambu, opposed this motion, and he said, I support the first part of the amendments on the confectionery, but the second part on money transfer, the Robin Hood tax, we were meant to understand that Robinson was a thief who was stealing from the rich and giving to the poor. The richest guy around is the government, yet we are exempting the government from paying when it transfers money. We also want the government to support the healthcare. We want county government to support the healthcare, so I oppose. So basically, it was opposing all the amendments which were being made on this Robin Hood tax, because for him, he feels that the government should pay when they are transferring money from the national government to the counties, and even when KRA is transferring money from their holding accounts to the central bank. It makes sense considering that Robin Hood was an outlaw who was always stealing from those who have. It doesn't matter whether they work in government or in private sector, but they always collected some money and transferred them to the poor. That is just one of the items which was under discussion. But then I was asking myself, what was the origin of the Robin Hood tax? Robin Hood tax generates its name from Robin Hood, someone who was a thief, but a good thief, if I can say good thief, who used to steal from the rich and give that to the poor. So let us start by divining who was Robin Hood. A check on YouTube seems to have some stories, the true stories of Robin Hood. Let us check on this one.
Coming up, the truth behind a legend that has captured imaginations for centuries, the mysterious, real Robin Hood. With a heart, a crusader who robbed from the rich and gave to the poor. The story of Robin Hood that still fascinates us today was first recounted more than 700 years ago. Since the 15th century, historians have tried to unravel the mystery of who and what is behind the legend. Their discoveries so far reveal dark truths about a long-lost world.
And Robin Hood is the most romantic of heroes. A selfless protector of the poor, an unmatched marksman, and an avenging angel of justice. But is any of this story really true? Was there a man who inspired this powerful legend of the honorable outlaw? Was the real Robin Hood truly concerned about providing for the poor? Was he a man devoted to the worship of the Virgin Mother?
And I think he was preaching the gap of inequality in Britain during those times, some 700 years ago. And this Robin Hood was a regent. A regent is someone, maybe he existed and he did all these good things we are being told about, but there is also a likelihood that he never existed. It is only in the stories. Because there is no scientific way to verify this folklore, this story of a regent by the name Robin Hood.